I woke to the deep red glow of the bleeding crags casting long shadows across the jagged rocks around us. The night had been restless, the whispers louder than ever, their hissing voices weaving through my dreams. You will fall. You cannot stop us. Your light will fade. Despite the unease lingering in my chest, the shard pulsed faintly against my skin, its warmth steady and defiant. Lysara was already awake, sharpening her blade with deliberate focus. She looked up as I stirred, her silver eyes sharp. We're close, she said, nodding toward the crimson horizon. The heart of the bleeding crags lies ahead. It's where the light of this region flows, and where the shadow will be strongest. I nodded, swallowing hard. The air was heavier here, the ether weaker, as if the land itself were holding its breath. The terrain grew more treacherous as we continued. The jagged cliffs seemed to close in around us, their dark surfaces streaked with veins of pulsating red light. The ground was uneven, cracked and scattered with shards of crystalline stone that glowed faintly underfoot. The ether here is corrupted, Lysara said, her voice tense. It can be used, but it will take more from you than it gives. As if to prove her point, I tried reaching out to the shard, drawing on its light. The ether responded sluggishly, its energy warped and erratic. It was like trying to breathe in a room filled with smoke. The whispers grew louder as we descended into a narrow canyon, their voices a constant buzz in the back of my mind. Lysara moved ahead of me, her blade drawn, her movements precise and deliberate. Stay alert, she said. The shadow is watching. She didn't need to tell me twice. Every crevice, every dark corner felt like it was hiding something, and the shard's light flickered faintly as if it too was wary. As we turned a sharp corner, the ground trembled beneath our feet. A low, guttural growl echoed through the canyon, and from the shadows emerged a creature unlike anything I'd seen before. It was massive, its body a grotesque amalgamation of rock, shadow, and pulsating red veins of corrupted ether. Its eyes burned with an unnatural light, and its limbs ended in jagged claws that scraped the ground as it moved. The guardian of the crags, Lysara said, her voice steady but grim. The shadow has twisted it into something monstrous. The creature roared, the sound shaking the very walls of the canyon. Ready yourself, Lysara said, raising her blade. The battle began in a blur of motion. The creature lunged, its massive claws tearing through the air. Lysara darted to the side, her blade striking at its legs, but the blows barely seemed to faze it. I raised the shard, its light flaring as I sent a wave of energy toward the creature. The blast struck its side, but the corrupted ether within it absorbed most of the impact, the veins along its body glowing brighter. It's feeding on the ether here, I shouted, dodging a swipe from its claws. Then we must overwhelm it, Lysara replied, her voice sharp. Easier said than done. The ether in this place was unstable, and every time I tried to draw on it, it felt like grasping at water that slipped through my fingers. The creature roared again, a wave of shadow erupting from its body and forcing us back. My barrier flickered as it absorbed the brunt of the attack, but the effort left me winded. We need to disrupt the corruption, Lysara said, her eyes narrowing as she studied the creature. Focus on the veins. It's where the shadow's influence is strongest. I nodded, gripping the shard tightly. Its light flared brighter, responding to my determination, and I focused on one of the glowing veins running along the creature's torso. The ether surged through me, the shard amplifying its energy, and I released a concentrated beam of light. The beam struck the vein, causing it to shatter with a deafening crack. The creature roared in pain, its movements growing erratic as the red light dimmed slightly. Keep going, Lysara shouted, her blade slicing through another vein near the creature's leg. The fight was brutal, each strike and blast of light chipping away at the creature's corrupted form. But the shadow didn't let up. The whispers grew louder, their voices filled with anger and desperation. You will fail. This is your end. The light will die here. I gritted my teeth, ignoring the voices as I channeled the shard's energy into another attack. This time the beam of light pierced through the creature's chest, severing the largest vein of corruption. The creature let out a final, ear-splitting roar before collapsing, its body dissolving into a swirl of shadow and mist. The ground beneath us trembled one last time before falling still. The canyon was silent, save for the faint hum of the ether beginning to flow more freely. The shard in my hand pulsed brightly, its light no longer flickering. You've done it, Lysara said, her voice filled with quiet relief. The guardian is gone, and the light will begin to return to this place. I sank to my knees, exhaustion washing over me. The battle had pushed me to my limits, But the shard's warmth was a steady reassurance. How many more of these will we face? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Lasara didn't answer right away. Instead, she placed a hand on my shoulder, her expression both somber and determined. As many as it takes, she said, until the shadow is driven back for good. We set up camp near the edge of the canyon, the red glow of the bleeding crags now softer, less menacing. The shard's light was steady, its connection to the ether stronger than ever. As I lay beneath the crimson sky, I couldn't help but think about the Watcher's warning. The shadow wasn't just a force, it was the servant of something far greater, far older. But tonight, I allowed myself a small moment of hope. We had won a battle, and the light was still shining. Tomorrow, the fight would continue, and I would be ready.